This is Matt Jackson of the Young Bucks, and you're listening to the Kayfabe Connection, your home for facts, rumors, knowledge, trivia, and everything you know or hope to know about pro wrestling.
Welcome to the Mankind Cave. Welcome to another episode of Kayfabe Connection. Think of this episode as the State of the Union for women's wrestling in WWE. I'm going to do a separate video for an Extreme Rules discussion. It pains me to even say Extreme Rules because that pay-per-view last night was as extreme as a box of kittens. Not a bad pay-per-view, not a great pay-per-view. Main event definitely left a lasting imprint on me. I know several of my friends swore they wouldn't watch it. Some did, some didn't. I definitely told them this morning, hey, it's at least worth checking out the main event, the Fatal 5-Way, for the number one contendership for the WWE Fruit Roll-Up belt, a.k.a. the WWE Universal title, a.k.a. what the hell happened to that belt. When is the last time you've seen Brock Lesnar? Oh, on a milk carton. So I'm going to do a separate video for Extreme Rules, but while you're listening to this video, make sure you subscribe, share, go to Twitter at the letter K, F-A-B-E Connection. These videos are posted on Twitter as well. The link to the YouTube video is posted there on Twitter, so make sure you retweet, share, like, all that good stuff. Leave comments, what you thought of the episode. You can leave comments underneath this video here in the comments section. So, last night, there was a women's match. There was a mixed tag that involved Sasha Banks and Rich Swann taking on Noam Dar and Alicia Fox. To some people, they have looked at that as a demotion for Sasha Banks. I'm going to say this, at least she had zero involvement in this horrible Bayley and Alexa Bliss feud. Here's what's wrong with the women's division, and we'll go back to the beginning of the women's revolution, which was a stupid tagline to name it at the time because just let it be what it is. When they were force-feeding that rhetoric down our throat, when we genuinely wanted to see change, long gone are the days of puppies and TNA and, HLA. I won't even repeat it from Eric Bischoff. All this stuff. Long gone are those days. Now we have a core talent of women, the Four Horsewomen, in addition to several other workers that don't get their credit. Sarah Del Rey, trainer down in NXT. That name should be pivotal in terms of the women's revolution. Contrary to all her scandals, and I don't even know if you'd call it a scandal, Paige had sex with a dude that was consensual, multiple dudes, and they were into a voyeurism thing, and they taped it, and it got leaked because someone went without her permission and posted it. Despite those things, I guess, I don't even, the scandalous dirt sheet reports and hot take stories. Despite all that bullshit, Paige was the only NXT / Divas champion ever. First day on the job. Comes in and pins AJ Lee 1-2-3. She's not only the NXT Women's Champion, she's the Divas Champion. I don't think Paige gets a lot of credit for that. And, just the flakiness and everything of what it seems like translated on paper, I don't think she's really doing any favors for her career. That's her own personal choice. Here's the thing you got to consider about that topic, and we'll put this to rest. A lot of people hate on Paige. They'll slut shame her. They'll say horrible things that I feel are out of bounds. When it comes to Paige, she is a grown-ass woman, but here's the thing. She came over here, went across the pond, and came to the United States of America to wrestle when she was a teenager. And I know, you're just making that excuse that they came over as a teenager. Everybody deals with adversity in life differently. All we can do is be good examples and provide advice and to lead by example and hope that the future comes through the way that we lead by example for them to come through. So with Paige, it's one of those things. Is her legacy ruined because she had a sex tape leak? No. Is her legacy ruined if she's just abruptly just shoved off TV because of it? No. She has an injury. She actually has a neck injury. That is a legitimate injury. We'll have to see what happens with it. But I'm going to say this, it's a damn shame if Paige is no longer in the women's division because however you want to slice it, she is a solid worker. And her NXT work was fantastic. The matches that she had with Emma, that really was the flame that ignited the women's revolution in terms of modern day, like this era, circa the last, 4 to 5 years. So, gotta give credit to her, and as I mentioned, the trainers down in NXT, because I feel they are the unheralded heroes in this matter. The 4 horsewomen are the obvious answers, right? The matches that they had in NXT were absolutely incredible. Charlotte even, one of the earliest memories I can think of the 4 horsewomen, Charlotte and Natalya. And I had always been a Natalya fan. I knew she was solid. She's a freaking heart, That match just blew me away. I was like, wow. And honest to goodness, I think when I realized Charlotte was just the GOAT is when I saw her in Fort Pierce, Florida, at an NXT show, coincidentally during my honeymoon to my wonderful wife. And my wife attended the NXT show. This was the heyday, like the Breakfast Club of NXT was there. Atami, Neville, Zayn, Balor, Owens, the 4 horsewomen, like everybody was there. Corey Graves was on commentary. That was did you hear the general manager? Just got a chime from the general manager from Raw. Doo-doo-ding. So, yeah, we won't edit that out. So, I got to see all these people in person. I saw Charlotte in a tag match, and even still, like, it was a tag match. It was great. And the athleticism that she displayed in the match and just her poise and the way she carried herself, the way she protected the people she was in there with, just her overall just persona, her attitude, her demeanor. It was like, all right, she's the best right now. She is the best female wrestler going right now. And all the other women, you would think that, okay, Charlotte's on this pedestal, which if you've seen interviews or you've heard it right from her mouth directly, even a guy like Arn Anderson, who's pretty much like her uncle, stayed away from her backstage. Like, wasn't all up in her business, wasn't really around her because he didn't want to perpetuate the stereotype that he was, picking favorites or giving her more time than the others or more focus. So she's really tried to come up, even without the Flair name. Like now she's Charlotte Flair. Before it was just Charlotte. She did not want to use the moniker of her dad to try to get herself over. Much the same with Cody Rhodes now. Now you see Cody Rhodes, it was Stardust, it was Dashing Cody Rhodes, it was all these monikers, but he never wanted to just be like, hey, I'm his son, so I'm going to do the same stuff he did to get over. Bionic elbow, cowboy hat, bull rope matches, be a badass, street fights, all that stuff. No, he went in his own lane and made something of himself. Now, he's the American Nightmare. Cody Rhodes as an homage to his late great, my 1A and 1B, Roddy Piper and Dusty Rhodes. Rest in peace to both. His father, Dusty Rhodes. So, I applaud her and commend her. She is a natural athlete. She wanted to come up and come up that way instead of getting the help of her father and the other horsemen and so on and so forth. Then you can make that claim like, oh, it must be difficult to get a job in the WWE when your dad is one of the greatest and is a legend. It's easy to just make a phone call. Yeah, it is, but that doesn't mean that they're going to amount to shit. That doesn't mean that offspring of that legend is going to work harder than everybody else, is going to produce better matches than everybody else, is going to be better on the promo than everybody else, have a better persona, so on and so forth. So I applaud Charlotte. Really, her emergence in the women's division is really what catapulted everything. And then you have, as I mentioned, the matches. We're talking about the matches. The triple threat in Brooklyn when all four horsewomen at the end got in and did the four horsewomen sign, which was, I mean, to some people, it brought a tear to their eye. Like, it was a moment. And not when Michael Cole tells you it's a moment, but it was an actual visceral, organic moment that you felt. Sasha Banks and Bayley, the legendary matches. Those were match of the year candidates, male or female, that year. And some people were partial more to the Iron Woman match than they were to the other match. But either way, they were both great matches. Psychology, the in-ring performance, the pacing, everything. The drama. It was an incredible feud with incredible matches that pretty much set the bar for NXT women's matches. And I'll be dead honest with you, Asuka is super impressive. I mean, her win streak has surpassed Goldberg's. She's been the champ, it feels like, for like 5 years. It's like you would think she's in PWG or something. She's super impressive. I have not been as blown away by any of the Asuka matches or her feuds as I was with the latter four horsewomen. I'll just be dead honest about it. But I still think that's because they raised the bar so incredibly high to where now you're getting first ever matches. Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss, whether it wasn't really a barn burner or not, they had a cage match on Smackdown, a women's cage match. We're seeing Hell in a Cell matches take place now. Charlotte and Sasha Banks, even though that feud got ran into the ground. The hot potato title, the Raw women's title, right? They got the fruit roll-up belt for the men. They got Mrs. Potato Head for the women. They got the hot potato belt. We got to build that streak up. So the point in this, because I don't want this to be an hour-long dissertation on the women's division. The point in all this, that brings us to the present, right? All of the horsewomen on television, Raw and SmackDown respectively. That brings us to the present. Look at how Sasha Banks came up. She developed the boss character, which now apparently, I guess a 70-year-old man doesn't know much about a boss and what that means. Surprise, surprise. And, you have other pet projects that he has. But even like with Nia Jax, some would argue Nia Jax should not be on the main roster. She's not ready. And that's not just like, oh, the dirt sheets told me to think that way. This is like coming directly from the opinions, the expert opinions of, former and present wrestlers who are just being critical. They're not dissing her because I want to see Nia Jax succeed. I want to see her knock it out of the park. Because she is, much to her song denotes, she isn't like most of the women's wrestlers that come across your TV set. So it's cool to see them do something and not just go cookie cutter as they've done in the past. And I hate to disrespect that era, but Eve Torres, Candice Michelle, Kelly, those women who were just models flopping around in the ring for 3-4 minutes while everybody else taking a piss or getting popcorn. This foundation has been set in stone, really. It was Mickie James, Lita, and Trish in this modern attitude, post-attitude era. We kind of slipped away from it. John Laurinaitis and Vince wanted models for whatever reason. I guess, that male demographic loves it, even though it's a family show. It's so weird. But I digress. The women, it's not their fault. That's the video. That's the thesis here. And not to quote Gene Snitsky's theme, but no. It's not their fault. I think the women have done all that they can and then some on the main roster. The matches that they've put on, has every match been a barn burner or had that same lightning in a bottle feel that some of the NXT matches gave? No. I will say this, though, and people can throw out the asterisks or they can make excuses. Oh, everybody was injured that year. The Dallas WrestleMania, right? Not this past one, but the year before. The women triple threat match. That was the best match of the night. That was match of the night at WrestleMania. The women put on a better match than all of the men that night in that seemingly 17-hour show that ran 5 hours and some change. The women put on the best match. And I'd like to see one day to have the women main event a WrestleMania. The problem with that, and that will bring us home here, is the fucking atrocious booking on Raw. We're going to leave SmackDown alone. Naomi's the current champion, not one of the 4 horsewomen. Someone who was a fucking funkadactyl who was dancing with pom-poms, but has worked her ass off and is super athletic and is super over now with this glow gimmick. Kudos to her. Kudos to her, right? We haven't seen an African-American women's champion since what? Alicia Fox was the Divas champion for a cup of coffee. We had Jackie in the women's division. I mean, it's few and far between. That's really cool. But besides that, she's just a super talented, passionate, athletic worker. She is great. She's fantastic. I love her as champ. I'd like to see her for champ till, as long as they let her be. Everything is over with her right now. She's not getting weird reactions. The crowd's not getting sick of her. Surprise, surprise. Because of the way she's been booked. And we can prolong these title victories to some chagrin. Oh, why doesn't she put the title online at Money in the Bank? Because there's going to be a first ever women's Money in the Bank match. See, I don't want to pit the two against each other, but isn't it indicative that it's a tale of two cities? It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. If you look at Raw and look how the women are booked there versus SmackDown. Look at the atrociousness, right? Beyond Lita unveiling that beautiful women's title, which I think the white strap with the red, beautiful. It looks similar to the men's belt, so it makes them equal and on the same playing field. Everything that it represents, that was such a defining moment. And then to have those 3 women, Becky, Sasha, and Charlotte, put on match of the night, that laid the blueprint for what seemed to be a winning formula on the main roster. And Charlotte was the champ, and people complain because she was the champ for so long. That's fine. That's fine if she has a lengthy reign. What's not fine was the hot potato booking that went back and forth, back and forth. It was like a fucking ping pong match of Sasha and Charlotte, Sasha and Charlotte. Sasha wins. Not even, on a pay-per-view or when it matters. Just on a random Raw, because the brand split, they wanted to pimp out the brand split. And then after they pimped out the brand split, then they go, for whatever reason, they go, man, Charlotte's on this pay-per-view winning streak. Let's continue that. So we need to get the belt off of Sasha. So Sasha will lose it at the pay-per-view. Then Charlotte gets it. Okay, well, Charlotte's the champ, but we're going to pad her stats a little bit. So we're going to give her 3 different title reigns in the same feud. Hell, I remember when Rock and Mankind traded title wins when, the Rock Bottom pay-per-view and, they wrestled the halftime heat. So the title changed hands a few times. It seemed like at one point Charlotte was going to be like a 19-time women's champion before the year was out. Like, she was going to break Ric Flair's record, her own father's record, within one calendar year because the title just kept bouncing back and forth. What's the point in that? Because when you pimp the title out like that, and that's a poor choice of your words, especially if we're talking about women. When you disrespect the title like that and just kind of water it down, which is a better phrase there. When you water down the title, it makes everything that follows less important. And that's exactly what happened. And that Charlotte-Sasha feud, which should have been a hot feud, got really old really fast. Then, with Bayley, same thing. They main evented a Raw, which hasn't been done since Lita and Trish, in a match. There was a Bella Twins and Stephanie segment in Raw, but we're talking about a match. So that was like next level. That hasn't been done in a long time. And they give Bayley the win. She's the underdog. And part of her appeal to the audience is that fangirl underdog. You could have easily, I don't want to say jobbed out, which is, I love, that's a lovely term that people in Reddit forums like to, jobbed out or buried. Try to use those in try to use those words as minimally as possible. But you don't have to job her out. You can put her in high profile feuds, but she's right there and she can't win the big one. You could have milked that out for 2 years, honestly, with Bayley, until she actually won the title. You look like a Daniel Bryan. How long did Daniel Bryan have to scrape until he got the title? And that's what made that underdog victory so great. It was organic. With her, it was like, it was organic in NXT, but here it's like, oh, well, here's Bayley. She's got these balloons. She really acts more like an adolescent than an adult. You can kind of tell that from her outfit and the way she acts and her makeup. And so, yeah, she's not as big as the other women and doesn't seem like she's as athletic. But, she does the hug thing and the balloons pop up when she comes out. And she has a sick belly to Bayley finisher. And, that's Bayley. Here you go. And okay, she just won the title before WrestleMania. And so she goes into WrestleMania. She wins at WrestleMania, which is great. But think of how different of a feeling and a moment it would have been if Bayley just can't win the big one. And then at WrestleMania, she actually wins. And then the next night on Raw, you turn Sasha Banks heel. And they have a hot feud. Maybe Bayley eventually drops it to her. Maybe she doesn't. The way I would have booked it, I would have put that right there. That would have been a hot feud. We've seen the magic that they've had in the ring in NXT, and as I mentioned, lightning in a bottle. It's hard to get that magic back like they did in NXT, but you've seen what they can do as dance partners. Put them in a feud until SummerSlam, and then finally have, Sasha be the definitive champion. Maybe they change titles, once, and Sasha gets it back, but that's the definitive blow-off match, is that eventual SummerSlam match. We'd be in a much different boat now if we did that comparatively. Look at it now. What's the big deal? What's a big deal on Raw for a woman to win the title on Raw? What would be a big deal to have you mark out? We've already seen Sasha get the belt 3 Raws on 3 different Monday Night Raws in the span of 2 months. So what big moment, what crowning achievement? It's almost like the point where it is with The Miz now. And kudos to him. For all the disrespect, because, he's an actor, he's a real world guy, he's not a wrestler. For all the flack that he got coming in, who would have ever thunk that The Miz would have main evented a WrestleMania with John Cena and we'll say The Rock, walked out as champion? Who would think that we would say, man, The Miz has probably the best promo in the WWE. He's worked his tail off, so he's gotten there. So I don't want to water down his achievements, but you get what I'm saying. A 7th Intercontinental title reign by The Miz at this point is God, put him in a title picture or put him in a big feud with a big name guy. What does it matter now with Miz as the IC champ? Because I swear it felt, I've seen Miz and Ambrose like 928 times. And that's just the feeling that we get on Raw, even after the Superstar shakeup. Because really, what do you have to work with? Alexa Bliss is the champ. She did the best of what she could do with that This Is Your Life segment. But here's the problem. Bayley is now penalized for the shitty booking of WWE Creative, Kevin Dunn, Vince McMahon, all the people responsible for the last word, which is ultimately Vince McMahon, but everyone collectively that was involved in booking that suicide attempt on live TV. That was awful. And now, as a result, Bayley is penalized. How do we know that? We saw it last night. That match was like 5 minutes tops, and it was the shits. And that's the Raw Women's Championship. Like, that's where we're at now. Kendo stick on a pole match. 5 minutes long. That seriously sounds like some shit during the Kelly Kelly era. So the build was horrible for it. There was no intensity for it. It made Bayley look like an idiot. This is supposed to be your babyface. And it was the story was on the wall. Hell, they might have even cued it over to the ref, because the refs wear the little ear mics. After Bayley got that reaction last night, did you guys tell the difference? And girls, did you tell the difference out there? When Bayley got introduced, boo, there was kind of a mix. And we would say 90% of the people, when Alexa Bliss got announced, cheering. That's really bad. Is that Bayley's fault? Nope. It's the way she's been booked. So like I said, look at Smackdown. You got Naomi as the champion. Natalya is a force to be reckoned with. She almost always wrestles on SmackDown. There's never a point where you go, man, haven't seen her in a match, or at least on a pay-per-view or something. She's at least relevant. There's like there's 3 women wrestlers on Raw that are legitimate people that are in the mix, right? Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss, Bayley. Sasha Banks is kind of being shoved away and going to main event and 205 Live and all that. Other than that, what do they have? But you look at SmackDown, look at all the women in the Money in the Bank match. I mean, Tamina's still, green and still trying to figure herself out, but look how stacked the SmackDown division is. And like Carmella could be, she's been improving. Carmella could be someone that could be in the mix here and could probably easily be women's champ before SummerSlam. By SummerSlam, Carmella's probably going to be the WWE SmackDown champion. So you look at the women's division there. It's a totally different story. And come to find out, Ryan Ward, ex-NXT writer, the reason why we got all the magic down in Full Sail, basically it's him and Road Dogg Jesse James. They pin SmackDown. They are the creative force behind SmackDown. And according to the Dirts, take it for what you want. But I'll tell you this. Are the Dirts 100%? Nope. Are they ever 100%? Nope. But is it pretty indicative when you see the vast difference between the Raw storytelling over the SmackDown storytelling to take this rumor as just truth? The fact that Vince McMahon is just lax. He lays off SmackDown. He doesn't really have a say in terms of SmackDown creative. He lets Road Dogg and Ryan Ward handle it. The writing's on the wall. We can tell. It's awful. If we got the same level of just patience and mindfulness and just awareness of who's over, how to get them over, how to book it, when to put them, how to make them relevant on week-to-week programming, how to build towards a pay-per-view match. When you've seen the same 2 women wrestle week after week in the same, in different types of roles or match types, and then you get to the pay-per-view, it's like, I know we only pay $9.99 for it now, but what's special about it? So that's the point. We don't want to get to the point in the women's division where the question we beg to ask is, what's the purpose of this? What's so special about it? Why should I care? Because the moment we start thinking that, and it's a Pavlov sort of reaction that we get to it, we see women's match, we see the little vignettes queued up, and it's like, all right, well, time to make more popcorn, or I'm going to flip the game on, or the moment we get to that, this revolution's dead. How do we resurrect it? I think what you see on SmackDown should be replicated to what you see on Raw. Maybe Ryan Ward and Road Dogg have to go sit down with the Raw team and go, okay, for the sake of this company, I know we're different brands and we're technically competition. I want to see all women strive here, and I don't want to see this division flatline on your end. What can we do to help out? Let's throw some ideas at you. Let us know what sticks, what you want. We'll work together. We're not going to tell you how to run your show, but we'll at least tell you what we've worked on that's worked and maybe how you could use it to your advantage. Because it's a tale of, as I mentioned, two cities. It's night and day. Raw and SmackDown, the way they treat the women's division is night and day. And frankly, I am just completely disinterested with the Raw women's division. Alexa Bliss is great. Is she the best female wrestler in the company? No. But she puts on matches. She puts on good matches. She's the best on the mic. Better than Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, Bayley, all of them. She's the best woman on the mic. Bar none. Easily. Without a doubt. But I am not interested with anything that's going on with the Raw women's division. And that's awful. What do you guys think? What do you girls think? What do you folks think? Comment on the video below. Tweet at the letter K, FABE Connection. What do you think? What are your thoughts on the women's division? The state of the women's division. But that's it for another episode of Kayfabe Connection. Next time someone tells you wrestling's fake, you know you tell them. So are movies and TV.